Hot and Bothered by Diane Wilmer. Skipper East had landed a big catch of plaice, hake, cod and skate. All the Deepdale villagers were queuing up to buy it. "Sorry," said the skipper. "I promised a lot to Mr. Flap down at the chippy." When Mr. Flap saw all the fish, he went into a spin. "Oh dear," he panicked. "Have to open the shop, the chips to chop, the pies to heat, and the butter to beat." "I'll help," said Skipper East, but there was so much to do, he got hot and bothered too. He never saw the cleaning sponge fall into the chip chopper, and neither did Mr. Flap. "I'll fry the pies, chop the shop, squeeze the beans, and splatter the butter." "No," said Skipper East, "you've to open the shop, the chips to chop, the pies to heat, and the batter to beat." Bong! When the clock struck 12, Mr. Flap hit the roof. "Opening time!" he yelled, and in they flooded. "Pie and chips, chips and peas, beans and fish, salt and vinegar, please." "I'll have meat and potato, sausage and savoury, a big steak and kidney with lashings of gravy," shouted the hungry customers. Mr. Flap was cooking everything in sight. He was so hot and bothered he didn't even notice he'd fried his own oven gloves. By 2 o'clock they'd sold out. All that was left was their own dinner and a squash sausage for Felix. Just as they were sitting down, the little boy ran in. "Hey, mister," he said, "these fish and chips taste right funny." Mr. Flap was too tired to argue. "Have ours," he said, and they swapped their dinners. Skipper East and Mr. Flap sprinkled salt and vinegar on their fish and chips and tucked in. Crunch. "These taste like old boots," sputtered Mr. Flap. "And these are disgusting," choked Skipper East. Then they realised what they'd done. "Oh dear," giggled Mr. Flap, "I've buttered my gloves." "Bless me," tittered Skipper East, "I've fried the sponge." He started to laugh and couldn't stop. Neither could Felix. "Well," said Mr. Flap, "I'll shut the shop. I've chopped the lot. There's nothing to fry and nothing to buy. There's nothing to beat and not a sausage to eat. I've nothing to sell. Just as well." And they both started to giggle all over again.